Praise and Production.
6. Number 6. We've been talking about different. Why is it so washed out? There we go. We've been talking about some relationship tips. We've gone through 6 of them. I will refresh the ones we've talked about. Relationship. Dadgummit, I forget. I'm trying to jump into it. Gumbolaya podcast. Ramblin Ant, me, CA, that's who I am, is so wonderful to be seen by you. Love you. We about to do it. Okay. So sorry. I forget. I need a producer. If anybody wants to produce this, bring it on. Let me partner because I be forgetting. I just want to start yapping. Number 1 was relationships are not simple, right? We are complicated beings. We are spiritual beings. We are psychological beings. We are physical beings. We are emotional beings, right? Whole lot of beings, and we be complicated, right? So relationships between 2 people, they're not simple. Doesn't mean they're bad. Just you gotta iron things out, right? There's no use in fixing what isn't broken. I'll put the link to this article or this website in the description, unless I forget. And if I get, remind me and I'll try and add it. Right? There's no use in fixing something that isn't broken. Enjoy the good moments. Don't mistake a good moment for being fake, right? Anything bad will reveal itself. It will come out. I think there's scripture that says what's done in darkness comes to light. It happens, right? And if it doesn't, if you don't notice a problem and somebody did some dirt, yeah, right? If you don't notice it and you live in your life, live your life, enjoy your life. If it needs to come out, God will reveal it. And if you don't believe in God, circumstances will reveal it. And if they don't, then it don't matter. Right? Number 3. You have to love yourself before you can love other people. I added, you got to take time to learn about love, what love is, before you can learn to love yourself, before you can learn to love other people, right? You got to learn what love is, how to love, what love means. Then you learn how to love yourself, and that's important. I would even add to number 3, I would say to those who choose this path, and I say, choose ye this day, right? I would say, learn that love is from God and is God. That's what I would say. That's me. That's what I think. I found a whole lot more truth in that perspective, right? If that's not what you believe, respect. You pull from whatever source you believe is true and pure and real and consistent and sustainable, right? Whatever that might be. And if you find something else, please share it with me because I would love more source as well. But I believe God has all. So learn about love, then learn how to apply that to yourself. Learn how to take care of yourself. Learn how to love yourself. Very important. Got to love yourself, right? So then when you feel the love of self, you recognize it from other people, you learn how to give it back better, right? Number 4 was you can't love somebody if you don't like, they say you can't love somebody if you don't like nobody. I feel like that is very similar to number 3, in my opinion. So I didn't really spend a lot of time on that. But, the explanation for that is keep an open mind when meeting new people. Don't shut everybody out right away. The world has so much to offer, and you'll never experience any of it if you refuse to venture outside of your comfort zone, which is very true. Feeling uncomfortable is good sometimes. That's a very good point. Like love, people will surprise you. That's a very good point. I feel like that's very similar to number 3. So I didn't go into it on an episode, but it is notable. I can respect why they added that. And I also should look at who did the article. So as a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. Pause. All right, let's see. Article is. Okay. The article is written by someone named Ryan Hussey. And his profile says, Ryan writes to inform, inspire, and entertain. Shout out to Ryan Hussey. He hates words like always and never, which are superlatives. So he always makes it his goal to never use them. He believes that the key to being interesting is being unpredictable sometimes. And he has a knack for making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. So much love and respect to Ryan Hussey, who wrote this article. I don't see references on the article, so I'm not sure if he pulled this from other stuff. I actually didn't look at the bottom. Does he cite any sources? I don't know. But he wrote the article, or at least he posted the article that I pulled this from. It's 13 Simple Relationship Truths You Need to Know by Ryan Hussey. It's on lifehack.org. I'm sorry, lifehack.org. And I'm taking a lot of these points from his list, and I will make sure to put the link in the description, especially on these videos. The last couple of videos I've done have been from this list, so I want to show respect to Ryan Hussey. Is his name. All right, number 6. All right. Number 6, communication is paramount. How many times have you heard communication? Just the word communication. You talk about anything regarding humans and interacting, it's communication. Because without communication, it's, we're into the animalism, stages and paths of life. And even with animals, they communicate. You know what I'm saying? You give a roar, it means back off. If you don't hear nothing, silence is some communication. And that silence might mean I'm about to bite your beep. All right? I'm about to eat you. All right? Those of you that learn about how animals communicate and stuff like that, it's different sounds meaning different things. There's different sounds that animals make when they're looking for a mate, or when they want a mate, or when they're warning other animals of a threat or whatever. Even in the animal kingdom, communication, man. All right? With us, it's a lot harder because human beings have a significantly higher capacity for abstract thought, right? Our ability to choose what we communicate is very tied to motivation and the like. And everybody's motivations aren't always great, which reminds me of you should check out a TED Talk that Megan Phelps-Roper, I think is her name. Stop. Megan Phelps-Roper. PHELPS-ROPER. She did a TED Talk explaining some significant things that happened in her life and her involvement with a church, and how she departed from the ministry and why she departed and what she learned in the process. I think you should check it out. It's a very, very, very good TED Talk, because she talked about how to get through mental blocks and conditioning that happened at the church where she was, and how she was able to experience a period and a moment and a life of enlightenment through interacting with someone that was on a very different path of life, and how they were able to find a friendship and respect, and what she learned in the process, right? And she gives a list. I have the list somewhere. List. Here's. Okay, this is a very big deal. So I was talking about everybody doesn't always have the best of intentions, but you have to start off giving someone the opportunity to show their intentions, I'll say. In my experience, I've had several conversations with very mature and intelligent friends who who have had a different experience in this area. But in my experience, most people do not have bad intentions. They don't. I have been blessed where most of the people in my life have had good intentions, and I've been able to experience a lot of positive relationships and things like that. Definitely had some bad ones, and I've had some horrible ones, and but most of the people in my life have been good-hearted folk, and they show me a lot of love, and so her first point that she made is never assume ill intent. And I think that's an incredibly, incredibly important concept to really, really adapt into your life outlook. I do, because I mentioned in a couple of videos back that looking for something increases the possibility of finding it. So if you assume that there is a problem without actual tangible reasons to think it, and you start snooping and looking, you will find things that you will add up to a problem. And it might not actually have that, that might not actually be the case. But you can put together, as a matter of fact, if you ever read if you read anything from defense attorneys and prosecuting attorneys, where they write or speak about how they have to go about their job, there's always, especially in criminal cases where someone is either proving that someone did something criminal and someone else is trying to defend the person, right? One of them is operating from truth. One of them, right? The person or the people did it or not, right? Usually. But a prosecuting attorney still has to look at the same evidence and find a way to say they did it, and this is why. And the defense attorney has to take a look at the same evidence, same thing, and say they didn't do it, right? Same evidence. And I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is neither side is allowed to present evidence that hasn't been presented to the other side unless the situation prevented them from doing so. I think there are stipulations where lawyers are allowed to introduce evidence or arguments in court under certain circumstances without the other side having prior knowledge. That's my understanding, right? But in general, both sides have the same evidence, and they got to look at the same evidence, the same facts, the same testimonies, the same witness accounts, the same videos, the same documents, right? And one has to find a way to say they did it, and the other one has to find a way to say they ain't did it, right? So in your relationships, you can find ill intent if you really look hard enough. However, it might not be real. It might not be. So don't assume. Don't assume. I have most definitely found it to be true that when someone has ill intent, they can't hide it. It comes out. Even if you don't find out until their plan is fully realized and they execute it and they hurt you. That's happened to me. It happened to me recently. I've said before, I got hurt very, very badly for some people that I love very much, very close. Just devastating. I felt some stuff when it was going down. Then I found out what was really going down. It was hard, very difficult. However, there's a whole lot that is true that isn't the part that, how do I say it? There's a lot that's true that I had to take time to understand and accept as truth that took time to see and understand. It took some time. You gotta give yourself time to get through pain to be able to find the truth. And some of the truth is hurtful, some of the truth is relieving, some of the truth is painful, some of the truth is healing, right? Give yourself time with that. So you don't assume ill intent. You don't, right? If there is ill intent, in my experience, it will come out. It will. Because if somebody is trying to do something, whatever their strategy is, they're inching towards doing it, right? So don't assume it. Now, don't ignore what you do experience, what you do see, what you do find. I'm saying, I said before, don't do the snooping thing because, I just don't think you want to live that life. But, that's what you want to do, is what you want to do. But don't assume ill intent, simply because if you decide that someone, has ill intent, there's very little they can say or do to change your mind. If you've already decided that someone has ill intent towards you, if you've decided that someone is trying to take advantage of you in some way, or someone doesn't love you in some way, or someone doesn't have a value for you, or someone's trying to, get over on you or harm you in some way, like there's very little somebody can do unless there is concrete factual evidence that you can discuss. Because, if there's concrete things that are not opinion or perspective or emotion based, if there's tangible things, somebody can explain yay or nay. You know what I'm saying? So don't assume. Give people a chance to be honest with you, and give yourself, at least the option of considering they might be actually telling the truth. They might not, be out to get you. Don't assume ill intent. The bad things will come, and when they do, you'll know it. So, don't assume it. The second one that she talked about, and I'll get back to the communication, is ask questions. The reason I thought of this article is because this TED Talk is because when I was reading the article, I thought of it right away. Because I remember when I saw her TED Talk, I had so much respect for the way she articulated the process she had to go through by renewing her mind. In the spiritual path, there are so many different philosophies and examples of how people renew their mind, how they change their thinking. In the Christian community, there's scriptures that talk about being transformed by the renewing of your mind, surrendering your will and your mind to God, so that God can change your mindset. And it has to come from a spiritual or heart place. There are a lot of paths that people take, cognitively, psychologically, psychiatrically, and there's a lot of that scientifically, things like that. And that's your path. Do that. But I'm much more of a surrender your mind, surrender your heart to God, and God will reveal the truth about things. And I believe that to be meaningful and significant. So number 2 is ask questions. Ask questions, yo. Keeping number 1 in place. Ask questions. When you feel friction, when you feel conflict in relationship and in communication, ask questions that are intended to teach you. You ask questions with the goal of learning, with the goal of understanding. Don't weaponize your questions. Don't ask questions to try and trap somebody, right? Again, if you decide that what you're looking for is the only possible truth, then you will not recognize any truth that can show you what actually might be the case, because you will be dead set on, no, this is what I think, and it's only that, and there's no other possibility. You won't pay attention to anything other than what you've already decided is the case, right? And can't nobody talk to you when you're in that mindset. You're in fight mode. If you ever learned about the different trauma responses, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? If you're in fight mode, everything you're doing is meant to either defend yourself or to attack, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. When you perceive trauma, you're going to be in that place. And so when you ask questions with the honest intention of learning and gaining understanding, you will give yourself the opportunity to be presented with and to have your eyes open to the possibility that you hadn't considered yet, right? Through this process, number 3 in her list, this is all credited to Megan Phelps-Roper, I believe was her name, Megan Phelps-Roper, Megan, last name is Phelps-Roper, and she has a TED Talk up. You should check it out. It's great. So number 3 is do your best to maintain composure. She says stay calm. I try to avoid that phrase because using the word calm in conflict, it's kind of like throwing gas on the fire. If you've ever told somebody to calm down when they're kind of impassioned or in a heightened emotional state, you might as well just throw a bag of gasoline in your fireplace. Like, it don't go well most of the time, right? So I am saying do your best, and this is you talking to yourself, do your best to maintain composure. And the reason I changed, from stay calm is because I try not to think in terms of that so I don't say it out of my mouth, to other people, right? Do your best. Number 3, do your best to maintain composure. That's important because if you think about how you feel when someone is in fight mode and their voice is raised, their demeanor is aggressive and confrontational, it's hard to talk to somebody when they're in that place because they're not listening most of the time. All they're doing is trying to get their point across. If you're trying to communicate and have conversation, remember, it's 2 ways. You got to say, you got to listen. You got to offer, you got to receive. You got to give, you got to take, right? You gotta. So do your best to maintain your composure as you ask your questions, as you get information, and you're assuming that they're going to be real with you. This is the way to find out if someone is someone that should be in your life or not. When you reach conflict, people who you want in your life will try to find their way to peace along with you. They will also want resolution. Through this process, if you discover that you cannot reach peace with someone for whatever reason, you got to make sure you're doing the things. Remember my 4 I talked to you about a lot: love, honor, dignity, and respect, right? Don't assume ill intent. Ask questions with the purpose of learning and understanding, not asking questions to try and trap somebody in a concept or in a thought or whatever. You're asking to learn. Understand what they're trying to say to you so that you can be considerate of what they're saying, and then you can offer back to them what you're thinking that includes what they're thinking, and it helps people drop their defenses. It does work, I promise. I do this all the time, right? So number 3, do your best to maintain composure. The last one is respectfully, I add respectfully, state your argument. She says, make your argument, and that's well put. I'm adding the word respectfully. Respectfully state your argument. Respectfully offer what it is you're trying to add to the conversation. Respectfully communicate. You don't assume ill intent. You ask questions. You do your best to maintain your composure, to have a conversation and not fight as best you can, and respectfully state your argument, right? So these are 4 things that she talks about as she began to communicate with a person who was in a very different, literally on the opposite side that she was kind of born and bred to operate within. She was born into a ministry that has a particular mindset, and she found significance and enlightenment in a different perspective. And what she talks about is her journey through that transformation of thought, the renewing of her mind, and finding a life that she felt like was much more fulfilling, right, for her, right? So it began with her communicating with someone that was on the other side of some issues, right? And she talked about how they were able to communicate. They were on opposite sides, right? Opponents, defense, offense, right? She began a relationship speaking with someone that had these concepts, maybe not mastered, but in use, right? Someone who spoke to her respectfully, that didn't just fight back, right? When you gotta fight, you gotta fight. But if you don't have to and you still choose to, then you're fostering a fight. You know what I'm saying? But, whenever you choose to, and I'd suggest you choose this much more often than not, you want to put your effort into diffusion. You want to bring things down to a conversational level, because we are able to do that, right? It's either, peace or war, love or coercion. Now, maybe I should do an episode on that. Those are very big concepts. You choose your path of love or you choose the path of coercion. And coercion basically means force, or it basically means force. To coerce someone is to force someone to do something or to think something or to behave a certain way or whatever. Think about coercion as wardens and and sheriffs, security in a prison, right? Prisoners are held captive, under lock and key, and they are forced to conform to the prison rules and environment. They are not given the option to do something else, right? Because of, whatever reason they're in there, whether innocent or guilty, but they are forced to comply, right? Versus the path of love is giving someone the option to choose for themselves. Teachers, ministers, well, and some ministers are coercive, but I'll say mature and wise leaders and elders, teachers and guides and whatnot. People who are doing things from an enlightened perspective, a mature perspective, a respectful perspective, right? Give choice. And in a relationship, you got to give choice. You cannot force somebody to do anything. One of the, I can't remember if I've talked about it, but that's one of the big life concepts that is a universal truth. You cannot control anything other than what you say and what you do. And life will also show you that there are times when people also can't control what they say and what they do. Yeah. They can, but some people just choose not to control themselves. They feel like they are out of control, and that's a complicated concept. But when you choose to engage a relationship through communication, you're choosing to give respect to the other person, because part of communication is listening. Gotta listen. You gotta give somebody the consideration of being listened to. I had to struggle with that a lot when I was younger, because I talk a lot. And I've been blessed with a lot of teachers. I've gone through a lot of, counseling training and minister training, and I've read a lot about psychology and the way the mind works and the way relationships works. And, I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of passion for it, stuff like that. And I just got a big mouth. You know what I mean? I think about this stuff a lot, so I often have a lot to say, and I often overtalk people and I interrupt and, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I had to learn through some very difficult situations, and some situations that were just teachable moments. I had to learn how to listen. I had to learn how to actively listen, not passively. The difference between listening and hearing, right? You can listen to somebody talk and just be waiting to say what you got to say. I remember my dad saying to me once, he was talking about my mom, and he said, he was like, I still struggle with this. He was like, but your mom helped me learn how to listen to someone and hear them and not just wait to say what I have to say. You know, he was saying, I still struggle with it. I remember him saying that. I was very young, and I definitely know that to be true about my dad, you know, and I also learned that to be true about myself. But because I was introduced to the idea younger, and I had a lot of people, you know, also my mom and other people that, reinforced that concept. When I found myself in situations where I wasn't doing it well, hearing that from the other person was already falling in fertile ground. I already knew that there's an area that's important, and I already knew that was an area that I struggled with because of, getting that from pops. Everybody has that a little bit, but that was something that, I struggled with. And I had to intentionally remind myself to hear and understand what someone is saying to me, more so than just hearing the topic we're going to talk about and then blah, 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 you know what I mean? All right? Don't assume ill intent. Ask questions. Do your best to maintain composure, right? To keep yourself composed and to be able to just talk. And then respectfully make your arguments. When you have something to say, remember, it's okay for you to say what you got to say. But it's not okay for you to yell at people. It's not okay for you to insult people. It's not okay for you to hurt people on purpose. It's not okay for you to attack verbally. It's not okay for you to use people's vulnerabilities to manipulate them and coerce them into yielding. I talked several episodes before about how dangerous it is to push to win an argument. It's dangerous. Because if you push to win an argument, you're pushing to make sure the person you're in a relationship with is losing. If you win, they lose. But if both of you win, then both of you don't lose, right? Don't nobody want to live with somebody that makes them feel like a loser. Don't nobody want to live feeling like a loser, right? So when you're communicating, remember the goal. The goal is to understand something other than what you already think. You already know what you think. You already know what's happening up here. But also remember, what's up here isn't reality. What's up here is doubts and fears and experiences and confidence and ego and shame and misunderstandings and circumstance, right? All of that, right? You have a conscience that helps you make good decisions, and the enemy is definitely whispering in your ear to try and take advantage of people, to be selfish, to avoid harm that ain't really even there. All right? It's all up here. So when you communicate, you get outside of your head, but you got to do so in a way that leaves a door open for the positive possibility. Ask questions. All right? To learn. Assume that someone is no better or no worse than yourself. If you are the worst, then you need to get away from people until you can get yourself together. You need to be working on yourself. And if you're not the worst, you got to assume that someone else might not be the worst either. If you were able to figure out how to be a decent person, it's possible that they have figured out how to be a decent person. Their sense of decency might be different. You might be stronger in areas than they are. You might be able to teach them. You might be able to learn from them. Don't assume ill intent. Ask questions. Maintain composure. Respectfully state your position. Respectfully offer your thoughts. Respectfully share your heart. Love, honor, dignity, respect. All right? The 9, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Do that stuff, yo. Do that stuff. Oh man, I'm way over. Sorry. Thanks for hanging with me. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up. Love you. Peace.
If it's my time, then it's my time. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Praise and production.
If I've been helpful to you, please like and subscribe. If you think others will be blessed, please share it. Thank you for the gift of your time and attention. I'm very grateful, and I don't take it lightly. Peace and blessings to you and yours.